This is a podcast about living out of intimacy, a conversation over coffee about a living God whose desire is to live out of you. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us. I'm Jason Goodson.
And I'm Johnny Taylor.
And this is Coffee and Conversations. Welcome back to the upper room in Mineola, Texas.
Upper office, or
I like the upper room reference, but it's always been a different one, of course. The upper office is nice. It is an office, but it rarely, could be called anything else other than your office.
We're moving on up tonight.
Oh.
To coin an old phrase.
And boy, we are moving on up. It's good to be back up here doing this once again. It's been a while, but
yes,
I like the fact that we can do this whenever God just gives us the good pleasure to do it. I mean, that's really probably the emphasis of whatever we're doing here in this whole grand scheme of things, because ultimately, trying to force this would be, that would just be bad.
Yes. Well, it's that thing. It's the thing of doing ministry out of life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We often talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It made me think of a quote I posted the other day. It was from, it was Rich Mullins.
Oh yeah. I really like that. And that post you gave.
Because it spoke so much to people who try to minister. It said, David didn't kill Goliath because he set out to kill giants. He set out to give sandwiches to his brothers, and Goliath got in the way.
It's good.
But it was like he didn't set out to do great things.
Right.
Because the thing he was supposed to do was carry sandwiches to his brothers. And ministry that God had for him happened.
Right.
In the midst of his life.
Mm-hmm. It's good. Yeah, it's a good reference to the living that we have in Christ and what we're doing here on earth. And I really, I can't remember the last time we did our last podcast, but it's been
January 27th.
January.
When I opened the file a while ago, it has the date on it. So.
Good. Well, I was trying to remember because I knew that it's been a couple months and stuff. So, yeah. And we're getting towards, it's that springtime of year here in Mineola, Texas. And as a school teachers out there, you often know that springtime can be often probably the most restless time for children in the school. And we have a full moon tonight, and that might be a little, the drawing of the tides and the different ways, and those kids acting all antsy and stuff in class and ready to go home. And it's just one of those times of years, I think, more than anything else. It's one of those, you can see it in the kids' faces. They look a little tired. They're ready to be done with this, and teachers are as well. I mean, there's no doubt to that fact. Is if you think a teacher is walking on cloud 10 right now, I'm sadly mistaken. But the love of teaching brings them back to the schoolhouse every day. Yeah. And it's not for a paycheck, because the paycheck is not real as compared to, we get paid well in our community here, but I'm just saying that the fact that, if it was all about the money, then we'd be in the wrong business for that. It's the love of the kids. It's the love for what we do. It's the passion about somebody having a light bulb turned on. So it's good stuff, and, being involved as a part of the shaping of a mind is really cool too. So we, was trying to think, weather has been interesting lately.
Rain. We keep jumping back and forth from drought to rain, like every couple of months.
And when it rains like buckets for like 3 days, 4 days.
We've had 4 inches this week already, and it's supposed to possibly rain again in the morning.
It's amazing. I don't know. It's kind of
wouldn't want to live in Houston. They had 17 inches in 24 hours.
That's crazy. Yeah, cars were covered in parking lots. It was in low zones. I mean,
places that have never flooded before.
Yeah.
Flooded. I guess that's their 1,000-year flood.
True. Think about that. Well, I think a couple of things. JT has a new whiteboard in the office up here, and I did not take a picture of it, but we'll get one out there later on. But man, the whiteboard has expanded.
We got a 3x5, so
it's really nice. Like you can actually do some writing on it.
We can write full size now.
And the other, it served its purpose. The other one did. We were able to hash some things out on there. But there's something about a whiteboard on the wall. It always seems to bring out the best in you.
Yeah, we appreciate the Whitneys for supplying that to us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, incredible gift there. One of the things we get to do is, like tonight, usually when we get up here, our podcast is called Coffee and Conversations for a reason. Tonight, though, coffee was not a part of that conversation for us, but, there's always something. JT always providing some sort of treat. But like, no matter what's going on up here, but it usually takes, we settle in and just be ourselves. It's one of the things I like about doing this is because, it may be a little later in the evening when we start, but it's always a good time to just decompress from life a little bit outside the walls and discuss what God is doing in our hearts.
Yeah, I was going to say the last time we came and sat here, we never did do a podcast.
Which was okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was, and I think I was just as content leaving that night as any other night that we've done anything here. Wow. Where do I begin with this, JT? I think I just want to jump in. I don't know. I don't have any like segues or anything like that.
Yeah, but this is kind of an interactive.
Yeah, I think you, the listener, need to participate.
You don't have to, but I would suggest going and getting a notepad and a pen.
Right.
Because,
or type on a computer, listen.
Yeah. Be somewhere, or at least mentally think, I'm going to answer these questions honestly. And here's the thing. You don't want to answer the questions after you've heard all the questions. You want to answer the questions as each one's asked.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell us. This is for you.
All right. And I think, and I kind of want to, before we ask the questions, I kind of want to share, my heart on why these things have been stirring within.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good to do.
Yeah. And also, let me say real quick, if you do want to share your answers with us, that's more than
absolutely.
You can do that also. You can private messages, post it, private message the Coffee and Conversation page, or post it to the page.
Yeah.
Whatever you're comfortable with doing.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be on the Facebook.
Yep.
And then at Taleo Ridge, Twitter, if you like to do that even. So that'd be awesome. And we'd love to hear. We'd love to interact with you on this. Yeah. This is really something for, I don't know. I don't know, where do I begin to start from the beginning, Jason?
But we don't require anything.
Yeah, there's no requirement of anything. I just think the big thing is honesty with this, because I grew up here in Mineola. I grew up in, the church downtown. And it's always been referred to as the church downtown. It's the big church downtown, the First Baptist Church of Mineola. And I still am a part of it. And for the last 2 years, I've just been observing a lot lately. And I know it's probably going to shock the dog out of some of you people listening tonight that I've been attending there for the last 2 years, but bear with me as I tell the story, because I think one of the things I've been observing and just noticing, not only in myself, but just in the interactions of the people is, how real are we within those confines? And I think part of that has to do with, jumping into something we've always just done for all of our lives, because I grew up there. It's something I did. I showed up every Sunday and Wednesday. My parents made me go. I liked it. I liked interacting with other people. I felt like back when I was growing up that I had more interaction with people than I do now as an adult.
Yeah.
In the church. And I think, I don't know if that's just the naivety of being young and not really caring about totally what somebody else thinks of me. And I don't know what changed over the years. I don't know if it's our politically correct age we're living in. I don't know what it is. It's like, I can tell you this, the form of that church hasn't changed a whole lot in 24 years.
Yeah.
And probably longer since I've been attending. We moved to Mineola in 83 or 4, I think. Yeah. And we started attending, and it ain't much changed a whole lot since then. I mean, it has, but people just look different, dress different.
31 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, and so, and looking at the whole situation as a whole, it's just just an understanding that, I'll look around in that room and go, how honestly do I know some of these people? What do I know about these people? And just watching the interactions they have with me, but also the interactions with other people between themselves. A lot of times it's just really surfacey, and it's not that they're bad people there, because they're not, but it's just, what is the pressing question here? And so I've been thinking about this for quite some time now, and I wrote some thoughts down a little while back, and I got to talk with JT tonight here about these questions, and I don't know. I think these are valid questions that I would love to ask anybody on the street, not just in the church, but anybody on the street. But particularly what interests me is I would love to sit down with the church congregation and talk about these questions with them, and just to see where they're at, not to judge, not to say you're wrong or right or whatever at this point in time, but just to go, I want to see a response to that, because I think there's a real disconnect in what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And so I think I guess we just talked to him about the word up front. It's the word intimacy.
Surprise,
right? What do we always talk about every time we're out here on the microphone? We talked about intimacy. It's talk about the knowing of another person, or the knowing of God, right? And it's always comes down to that. But I would love to sit and this with just everyday people that I come in contact with.
Yeah,
teachers, students, friends.
Yeah, I'd like to see these questions. I mean, we can't do it here because obviously we already have a spiritual
right. Yeah. Connection.
Foreground here.
Right.
I don't know what I want to say there, but anyway, I'd love to see these questions asked with no precursor of it being a spiritual thing.
Correct.
But that's
right. That makes sense.
I'd like to just ask everyday people the questions without any preconceived notion in their mind of what the questions are about.
Yeah. Right. I think one of the things that always strikes me about these questions is just noticing the interaction between other people.
Yeah.
I love people watching, number one, and if that freaks you out, I'm sorry, because I guarantee you, if you're not a people watcher, then you don't go. And like, if you go to a ball game, for instance, if you go to a Major League Baseball game, if you don't people watch, then you're missing out a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's all part of
baseball is part of. It's just all part of the experience. If you're going to go to anything
like it, especially me as an introvert, I wouldn't go if I wasn't going to people watch.
Yeah, they're interesting.
Yeah.
Just the things we do, say, act, all those things. It's great. Anyway, and I tell you, another thing is I'm a fan of, there's certain writers out there that just make me laugh. and so I get a kick out of these culture, pop culture writers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Chuck Klosterman is one of these guys. He's a little out there, and he's loving every minute of it. One of those things. And but he basically writes essays about the culture. Fascinating stuff, because it really does hit home to things like this. And I don't know, this is sort of where, the seeds of all this begin, and just looking at the last couple of years that I spent just observing people in our churches, or in our church specifically. And I could go back all the way to the years that I was a youth pastor out at the Haynesville church, and going there. But here's 5 questions basically that we have, and kind of want you to interact with us on this. And like you said, write them down one at a time. I don't think your answers have to be super lengthy. So we're not, if I was sitting there to say I'm looking for dissertations and in long paragraphs, forget it.
Unless that's just what you want.
Unless you want to give me this deep explanation of something. But I really don't think there has to be a deep explanation for each of these. I think it's simple answers that really can connect you and make your brain kind of start firing through the synapses and hopefully awaken it. And anyways, I titled this little survey, "How would you respond?" in question form, asking questions to get honest responses. Now, this may be a setup for further questions down the road for other things, but for right now, this was one of them. So question number 1 that we talked about tonight was, what is your definition of intimacy with friends? And I'll say that again. What is your definition of intimacy with friends? All right. And that's a good starter question.
Oh, yeah. Because I think it's one we probably don't think about.
Yeah.
It's one of those things we do, but we don't think about doing.
Yeah. Right now you can hit the pause button and answer that question.
Yeah. Just think about it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Even pause, even if you're not writing it down, and think about it.
Right. Even just give yourself a few minutes just kind of to chew on that. Question 2. Okay. You've unpaused. You're back with us now, hopefully. The question 2, how does that play out in your life? In other words, how does intimacy with friends play out in your life? How does that work with you?
What does it look like?
What does it look like? Yeah. What is the, how does that flesh out?
Yeah. Cause it's a lot of time we do so many things and we don't really think about what we do.
Right.
And sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing.
Right.
I think in this case, it would be a good thing to think about it, because I think it would help cultivate those friendships.
Correct.
So.
All right, pause. Go ahead.
I was just trying to think what else we could add to that.
I think that was good. It's a good explanation of the...
See, intimacy with friends is playing out in my life right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Right. Yeah, everything we do. Yeah, awesome. Pause. Answer that question.
Think on it.
Think on it. Say a lot, yeah. All right, unpause once again. What difference does what difference does intimate interaction with your friends make in your day? In other words, not in opposite to the fleshing out part, but what difference does it make? Does it make your day better? Does it make your day worse? Does it, or does it not even excite you?
Or do you even realize that it affects your day?
Right.
Have you ever even thought about it?
Never even thought about it.
That's kind of the point of the question.
Great.
You know, and we brought that down to a day, not life in general, but a day.
In your day, yeah. Just on a daily basis.
Did it affect any day this week?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
Right.
And if it did, then how did it?
How did it? And then answer that honestly as well. And,
if it
applies,
If it doesn't affect your day, then answer that honestly.
Right. Tell us, and maybe give a reason. I don't know. I think you could give a reason. why it wouldn't affect you. I think that would work. Pause button. We'll let you think on that. All right. And
I felt like I needed to wait while the pause was on for some reason.
Number 4. This is one of those questions that's going to require, I think it's a little bit of a two-parter. And
it starts with a yes or no, but
yeah, and then it requires a why at the end. Okay, so number 4 is intimate interaction with your friends something you look forward to?
Yes or no?
Yes or no, and then tell
or
us.
Might even be a maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Sometimes.
And tell us why. On any answer you give there, tell us why, or write down why, and if that's something you look forward to. Intimate interaction with your friends.
And whatever your answer, why? So
right. All right, and I like this next question. We put down
pause button.
Yeah, pause button. Yes, right.
Moment of silence.
And back. Okay, here we go. What value do you place in being intimate with your friends? I love that question. It's really good. What value?
Where does it rank in your life?
Yeah. What value do you place in being intimate with your friends and why? Tell us what the value is and why it's valuable.
What makes it this level of value?
Right. And, and my thought is too is, I could talk about my spouse or I could talk about, my best friend. I could talk about these things, but just in any interaction, what does intimacy look like and how's that that valuation go with, even your circle of friends or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Tell us why. And we'll let you hit the pause button there and we'll come back. All right, here's the doozy.
This is kind of where we were going to with all other questions.
This is the doozy, and this is, I guess, where all my, my feelings have been welling up on the inside with is, and it's a simple question. Do you consider God your friend?
Simple question.
Yeah.
It's funny because we were sitting around talking about these and wondering how people would react, just thinking through people we know and stuff. And
right.
And it was interesting because my first thought was that could actually be a threatening question.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, and it's almost hard for me to even think of that's possible, but I know it is. It's a sad thing.
Right.
But definitely a possibility.
Definitely a possibility. Do you consider God your friend? Well, that's yes or no, right? And why?
Yeah.
Why?
Or it might be sometimes.
Right. Right.
And then once again, the why.
The why, right. So, all right, there you go. Those were the pressing questions of tonight. It was one of those, those things that I've been waiting just to talk to somebody about. And JT happened to be my bouncing board tonight.
Yeah.
Off of that. And we, that's why one of the reasons why this friendship works is I can do stuff like that with him and bounce ideas off of him. And we can, he's always got great questions. So, those two kind of formulate together and work out to be something pretty interesting. And maybe at some point we'll get this put up in a forum format, and if you want to respond and get online and
I would love to see a lot of answers just to see what people would answer.
Right.
Whether I knew who they were or not.
Right. I think just a common stranger off the street would be an interesting conversation without having, no expectations of hyper spiritualism or anything like that. Just want to say, hey, here's some basic questions I want you to answer and be honest.
And I think one of the things for me that this is important is that it always blows my mind how people can take common terms and define them totally differently when they talk about God as opposed to talking about people.
Right.
And I mean, I know people do it, and sometimes I see why they might do it, but it's just like, how do why would this be? I don't even know how to say it, even. A glass of water with God is a glass of water, period. It didn't change a glass of water just because it's reference to God.
Right.
As if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
But we're constantly changing. When we bring God into the conversation, we constantly change what we mean. We define words totally differently. And that would be a question. Why do we do that?
Right. It's interesting. I think we talked about, we were looking this up earlier on our little online or eSword here, I like to call it, our reference on computer. I think the word friend is mentioned 47, 50 something times.
Let's see.
In Scripture.
It was a bunch.
Excuse me. Oh, here it is. 49 times verses are found from Genesis to Revelation.
Yep.
I think the last verses are found in James where it talks about friendship, but 49 different references to friend. Of course, friend in the New Testament has two different words with two different meanings. And then I think the Hebrew is
it's like three different ones.
At
least three. Pretty much the same meanings,
right.
But it's interesting that, and I bet if we went back and looked at the pictorial letters in it,
yeah,
there's a reason why.
There's a reason
because there's one word that's not used for friend that's not used very often, but it's always used almost in relation to a really close friend or a friend of God.
Right. Interesting.
But it's not just used for friend with God. It's used in both instances, but the human friend instance is a very close friend.
Right. Yeah. Right. Raya is one of them. The word Raya, an associate.
And the Rahab is the one that's used.
Ahab.
Ahab, yeah.
Yeah.
Not Rahab.
Ahab is the difference between that is an associate, and then the other one, Ahab, is the affection for somebody else. And that could be a partner, in your life, your wife, your husband. It could be, sister. It could, it could be that close friendship you have with another person.
Yeah.
In that way, and it doesn't have to be sexual in that sense.
But it's based on where it's used. It's a very deep
understanding of that, and it's in fact it's the common way that Abraham was referred to.
Yeah, that was
when he talked about his relationship with God as a friend of God. That's incredible.
And it was the one in Proverbs where it says the wounds of a friend.
Oh, absolutely.
That's got to be deep friend for the wounds of a friend to be a good thing.
And I tell people this a lot. Now, I've sat in circles with people on many occasions in this short life I've lived on this earth, and had some really cool moments, and really just, but I've also had some really strange ones.
Yeah.
And I can go all the way back to the college days, and we've talked about this on air before, about building the altars and doing the weird, ritual ceremonies of trying to get rid of our sins in certain types of way. And, consciously in our hearts, it was, we were trying to be the best version of ourselves we could be at that time. And just without the knowledge and intimate understanding of who God was and how all that worked. But, we sat around tables at camp and had some deep conversations that are meaningful, and it affected the lives of others. And I've also sat with people outside our little group as well. But, very rarely do I experience what JT and I have together, in a way, just in friends that I have that are, I mean, I couldn't walk down the hallway of our high school and experience what JT and I have had together, just because of it could happen, but the dynamics based on a job and based on what we do, and just think about that and how that applies into our everyday life with people we come in contact with. Well, if you sit down and have coffee with somebody, well, to me, get ready, because you might have some spilt beans on your table before it's all over with. For me, especially, because coffee just brings it out of me,
Yeah. But there's that, and especially with me being an introvert.
Yeah.
It's you got to be a close friend.
I'd say, to me,
intimate with me.
To me, it doesn't. To me, I don't see it because I know the other side. But
yeah,
I could totally tell that would be a
small talk, stuff like that.
Right.
Oh.
And yet he does this with you, and brings and opens up.
I interact
pretty interactively.
Yeah. That's the thing about introverts. They will interact with people, but it absolutely drains all the energy out of it.
Right, yeah.
Unless those are close friends.
True. Right. Well, hey, there you go.
So intimacy is an interesting thing. Not always pretty.
No.
Sometimes it's really messy.
Right.
But that's what makes it what it is.
Right. Yeah. I think, and I'm not trying to solve any big issues here, other than the fact that I just want people to experience a true relationship with God.
Yeah, and
in the purest form that it is within that person and who they are with Him, and they're in that interaction with Him. And I think we miss out on that quite a bit, and I think the church misses out on it. I think just the fact of, and I talk about God's children quite a bit with this, because what I've been witnessing and seeing, pretty much lacks this, this type of interaction,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'd like to, and that's kind of where all this is going to. Who knows? Maybe I'll write about it one day, and we'll, put it out there and see what happens. But I'm just real excited to see and hear the interactions of other people.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah, it's funny, because I was just thinking about, and I try to think about how other people think about things, how I used to think about some things, how I think about them now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking about the fact that, for me, God, I don't know how to say this. It's probably really easy to say, but I think a lot of the times we don't think about God being real.
Right.
It's almost a concept.
Right.
But for me, God is just as real as Jason sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
Did I see him? No. Not in the sense of a person with eyes and ears, but in the sense of intimate relationship, the same.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard. It's hard. It's almost impossible.
No, it's very good. No,
but it's. He's not somebody way off, some benevolent being that.
Right, that we can't
touch.
Oh man, right.
That we can't know.
Right. Right.
There would be, if we couldn't know him, there would be no reason for Jesus to come.
Right.
Because he was the exact. It says, I can't remember.
The exact representation of his
exact
being. Yes.
image.
Yes, the exact representation.
There was nothing.
Hebrews.
What God is was totally contained in Jesus.
Yeah.
And the disciples were able to interact with him just like I interact with Jason.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Mm.
So that's kind of the that's kind of the heart thought of all of this.
Right. Absolutely. How would you respond? Well, let's just run through them one more time, and then we can wait to hear your responses. How would you respond? What is your definition of intimacy with friends? How does intimacy with friends play out in your life, or how does that all play out in your life? What difference does intimate interaction with your friends make in your day?
I think that's one we never really think about most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that one right there is a good one. Is intimate interaction with your friends something you look forward to? Why? Why do you look forward to it?
Or don't look forward
to it.
Or
don't look forward to it, yeah.
We hope you do look forward to it. Probably if you don't look forward to it, you may want to go back and look at the definition.
Right, yeah. Especially the word intimacy and stuff like that. You might want to go back and check it out. What value do you place in being intimate with your friends? And tell us why. What value? And tell us why. Why is it important? Do you consider God your friend? And that's also a why question as well. Yes or no, maybe. And tell us why. And I'm totally fascinated to see your responses in these, and just really excited to, like I said, to interact with y'all on this. And hey, we'll see where this takes us, and see what we can find out about ourselves, and how this could possibly change the way you view not only your friendship with other people, but your friendship with God as well.
Oh yeah.
Until next time.